Game 6, do or die for the Pacers tonight. What's it going to take for them to get it done against the Knicks, extend the series to 7, keep their season live? It's about the stars, it's about pressure, and a couple other small things, and we'll talk about all of them today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Friday. Congrats, you made it through the week, and it's game day, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name is Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today I am very stuffy, and we're going to talk about Game 6, do or die for the Pacers in their series versus the Knicks. The first facing elimination, whatever you want to call it, game for the Pacers tonight. It's massive. It's huge. It's as big as it gets. I can't wait to see how it goes down. Let me tell you, from being at practice, they're going to be ready. It was at practice Thursday. We got, as Dustin Dopirak from the Starks call it, R-rated Rick, 2 F-bombs. Talking about rebounding and effort. That's what the Pacers need. They need that kind of tenacity that he used with his voice on the court. We got, shorter, to-the-point answers from star players who are ready to play, man. They're ready to go. 2 days off for the first time this series. These guys are ready. And I'm looking forward to it. And I wrote this, and it's going to be the theme of my show today. But in elimination games and big games, as you've seen around the league this season, as you've seen for all of time in the NBA, it's about the stars, man. It's about the stars. It's about winning with your best guys or slowing the other team's best guys or doing something to give yourself an advantage in that way. And that's what it's going to take for the Pacers tonight. So today we're going to talk about the stars, and specifically the theme I have for the first segment is applying pressure on the stars, and particularly in the point guard matchup. Then we'll get to some Siakam, some more stuff about random notes about adjustments from Game 5 involving stars, and then little other keys from Game 5 heading into Game 6. I hope that wasn't too much stuff. It's been way too long of an intro. Let's actually start talking about Pacers basketball, and specifically the pressure at the point guard spots, and the Pacers upping it on both ends. I don't literally mean being more aggressive necessarily, although that is part of this, but apply pressure. And if you've listened to me talk before a lot, you know that one of my basketball opinions is you want to be the team making the other team react to you. And so I think that is true for the Pacers on both ends of applying pressure, right? They started to double more in Game 5 on Brunson because they got into a long stretch where they weren't getting any stops without it. They needed to up the pressure. They needed to make the Knicks react, right? They needed to do that for more time in Game 6. And that's both ends of the floor. And we'll start on the offensive end, actually, and applying pressure with Tyrese Haliburton. I can't believe I'm saying this. Off the ball. He needs to have the ball a ton. Right? Obviously. That's where he's his best. That's the biggest thing that needs to happen from Game 5 to 6 is he is, as he says, more aggressive, get 2 feet in the paint, be a generator, be an engine, right? All the buzzwords of, high-level point guards, all that stuff. No doubt. He's got to find a way to do that. But what was the biggest change, or at least the most noticeable difference from Game 5 to the rest of the series, if you go back and watch it, is Deuce McBride is starting for the Knicks. And Haliburton would come down and give it up, and no matter where he went, Deuce McBride followed him and was right on him and was ball denying him, getting it back, and that was really effective for the Knicks. Basically, what I put in my notes, holding his jersey off the ball away from the play. That was smart, right? The Pacers need to turn that into a pressure point for the Knicks and make them react to something, right? Going through the numbers, Tyrese Haliburton has the ball obviously a lot, right? He is third, I believe, let me double check this, in the league in passes per game in the postseason. Yes, Jokic, Luka. And he has the ball all the time, right, in terms of actual touches. He's in the top 5 in the playoffs, only Doncic, Maxey, Brunson, Jokic ahead of him. But his time of possession is pretty low, right? It's not even in the top 10 in the postseason, 5.8 seconds per possession. His average seconds per touch is low. It's even lower than that top 10 spot I just said. He likes to give it up, and he doesn't get it back as much as some other stars. He has a lot of touches because he brings it up, but he doesn't, if you see those other things, he gives it up, and then the amount of time he has the ball is shorter than other guys. And his front court touches is lower than other stars. All this to say he has to be more involved in some way. He just absolutely has to find a way to get the ball more. And I bring up those stats for two reasons. One is that, we saw in the last game he needs to be more aggressive with the ball, and he's having it a lot. He still has a lot of touches. But also he needs to get it back, and those denials are where the pressure point comes in, right? That isn't a good thing for Haliburton or the Pacers, that he couldn't get it back. That's on him to get free, and it's on his teammates to look for him to get into advantageous positions. Those denials worked really well. They cannot be that effective again. If Haliburton goes off the ball and Deuce McBride's holding his jersey figuratively or is chasing him around or doing something, Haliburton's got to cut. He's got to be screened or be a screener himself, right? Bring the short McBride. He's a good defender, but bring him into the action. Or Haliburton's got to cut, make him cut, make something happen behind a play that makes the defense look around, right? Or just stand somewhere more valuable, right? Obviously, you don't want Tyrese Haliburton standing in the corner. That's not where he's at his best, but that is the best spot, in theory, for an off-ball shooter who's being hugged, right? That is what they need to do. They need to make him a weapon in those moments and get him the ball back, right? Make him a pressure point the Knicks have to deal with instead of what happened in Game 5 more often. This is not exclusively why Haliburton did not have a good game for his standards, but get him more involved even when he goes off the ball. That's how Haliburton can create pressure on the Knicks on the offensive end. Now, the other end of the floor, defending Jalen Brunson. How can the Pacers provide pressure, double teams, all the stuff they've done, scrams, whatever, switch and peel, and all these words that I kind of know what they mean. I do know what they mean, but there's just been so many. Force Jalen Brunson and the Knicks to react, right, quickly. What we've seen all series is whatever they throw at him, he either just shimmies around it to his shot or he gets it quickly to a 4-on-3 player who just moves it again, and that's because someone didn't recover or that Brunson did a good job dragging them to the sideline or whatever. Defensively, the Pacers have to make the Knicks react. Now, the Knicks are good at this, right? They're good at handling that kind of stuff. They have been all series, but it's not just about the double. It's about what comes after the double team. And this is where Haliburton specifically was not good in the last game. I asked him about it afterwards. Like, his defense wasn't good. He knows it. He was not recovering well from doubles or whatever they're calling the double stunts, scrams, whatever. He was not recovering well from them to get back to someone else. And his double wasn't necessarily great either. Like, that's why he said his defense was so bad in the first half of that game, right? So what would happen is the 4-on-3 would be easier. Or like, he wouldn't be in the right spot to properly X out or go to the right player off the ball. And that really hurt. And that made it really easy for the Knicks to just go, okay, 4-on-3, pass, and then Hartenstein turns, and I got some space. Okay, I'm going to pass to this guy, and then open shot. Oh, good. Deuce McBride got 3 points. Like, that just happened over and over. And you see secondary assists, the league tracks them. Thank you, NBA, for tracking them. Last 6 games, so just this series. That's not how series work. It's been 5 games. Either way, Brunson is crushing it in secondary assists. 3rd in the league in that stretch, only ahead of him, LeBron, who's out, and Anthony Edwards, who's been just killing it with the simple things passes for Minnesota. So Brunson has just been awesome at these secondary assists, which is hockey assists. And I bring that stat up to say the Knicks are really good at responding to the, 2 guys on Brunson, great pass to the top of the key or to the wing, and then that next guy is where the bucket's coming from via a cut or via a pass to the opposite side or whatever. So it's not just applying pressure to the Knicks isn't just about Brunson. It's about, and it is somewhat about Brunson. He has to actually give it up for this to matter, but it's about the next part of it. The pressure has to be better on whoever catches the ball next. And that's where the defensive rotation and communication has to be sharp for the Pacers. The 3rd guy, as I'll call it in the play, has to be up on Hartenstein in a way where he can't see the angle, passing angles right away. Or up on DiVincenzo or Hart or whoever it is that's being the safety valve for Brunson. They got to be up on that guy and make it hard for them to make the next play. And even if they have to wait a split second, right? That's what made the Nesmith switch onto Brunson so effective to me, is just a split second longer. Let everybody else recover. If they can get that split second out of something else, we saw how valuable that can be watching the Pacers in Game 3, and that mattered a great deal. They won that game barely, and that was a big part of it. And then, of course, they crushed in Game 4, right? That would matter a lot to me. So the 3rd guy is actually how you apply pressure to the Knicks. You're not applying pressure to Jalen Brunson. You're just not. You could double team him wherever. The only thing I could think about is double Brunson like 60 feet from the rim, and then his passes to get out of that would be really long passes, or it's not a long pass and it's still in the backcourt. But if it's a short pass in the back, like 60 feet from the basket, then someone else is taking it across the timeline, and then the Knicks are getting into their offense later. And if Brunson gets it back, he still has to do attack a double, but there's 13 on the shot clock instead of 18 or something like that. So apply pressure, right? He just sees everything so easily. He's so confident against anyone. Nembhard's a good defender. He's on him really close. Doesn't matter. Brunson's confident. He just shoots over him and scores, right? Like, there's not a lot you could do there. So the adjustment has to be someone up bigger guards him, and the stuff outside of defending Brunson, and actually when he gives it up, has to be way crisper and way sharper. That's how you apply pressure. You make them react to what you are doing defensively, force them to adjust throughout the game, and go from there. And that needs to happen on both ends, because Tyrese Haliburton's got to apply pressure by moving and getting open and his teammates finding him when he does those things, or doing all that stuff to create space for his teammates to attack. And on defense, he need to provide pressure by being much better defending who Brunson passes to and who Brunson is, where he is on the floor. That's how you provide pressure in Game 6 and make it so the pressure is not on you, who is facing elimination. Much more to come on the Stars. More Brunson stuff, more Siakam stuff, more Haliburton stuff. The guys who matter, coming right up. Stats, everything you could want to get prepared for Game 6. Before we get to any of it, though, let me tell you guys about LinkedIn Jobs. When you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, and that is why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has all the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn is not just another job board. It's a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else, and they do all that, making the process easy and intuitive to hire. It's easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 80%, that's a lot, of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, and that's why they are constantly finding ways to make that process easier. They just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. How about that? 2.5 million businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Yours should be next, so post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, Locked On Women's Basketball. And here they'll talk about Caitlin Clark, her debut Tuesday in Connecticut. I was at her home debut Thursday night in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Rick Carlisle was there. Pat McAfee was there. A lot of other important basketball people were there. Very cool. They got their butt kicked. The favorites at Liberty were awesome. It was cool. And you can hear more about that on Locked On Women's Basketball. We had 2 people in Connecticut for that game. And then either check out Locked On Nuggets or Locked On Wolves, because that Game 6 was unlike anything I expected for sure. It was a blowout. And as you've seen in the playoffs, and the Pacers have seen up close, they can win a game by 30 and lose a game by 30. It's not the margin that matters. It's the results. And the Pacers' result they want in Game 6 is a win. They need it, or their season will end. And one other way I think that they need to poke at the Knicks and provide pressure with a star player is with Mr. Pascal Siakam. I feel like I'm talking about this a lot, and it's because it's so fascinating to me, right? The Pacers, what they are, their identity, the core of what makes the Pacers so good at their best. Their offense, the second best ever by offensive rating. Even in the playoffs, we've seen, oh my gosh, the Bucks all of a sudden just can't stop them. The Knicks can't stop them. We've seen stretches of this. This team in this postseason do this. It's not all the time. But that team is playing with tempo, and they're making a ton of passes, and their ball movement's good, and it gets to the right guy, and that guy's open because the ball moves faster than any player can, and it's all beautiful. And yet, I wonder about Siakam being guarded by someone who is 6'5", whatever, inches shorter than him for a whole game. And the Pacers are not a mismatch hunt team. They are bad when they do that, right? That was Game 5 in Milwaukee. The Bucks changed up their matchups. The Pacers were like, what's going on? Let's run this. Okay, they have this matchup. Hang on, let's flatten out. Let's get to that. The shot clock's at 3, and they didn't get a good shot. That happened way too much. That's not who they are. There are times when they're good at it. Myles Turner has a small on him. They figured it out quick enough. He gets into the post, one dribble basket. Like, that happens all the time. Siakam's good at punishing those. Haliburton's good at punishing bigs a lot of the time, especially early in the season for a hamstring. Like, we've seen them do this, but it's usually if it's just targeted so obviously, it doesn't work as well. So what I'm about to say is tougher to do in practice than it is just saying it out loud, right? Because it, to me, seems like you see Pascal Siakam being guarded by Josh Hart, who he is, again, half a foot on, or a little less than that, whatever. A lot of size. Like, that should be a matchup to me that the Pacers try to go to a lot. And I say that to say, let's go back to game 5. Pacers lost, but I thought Siakam played good. A lot of his successes came really in the fourth when the game was already decided, but still. Siakam's most common defender in that game was Josh Hart. 5 minutes and 17 seconds. Siakam was 3 for 5, right? That's pretty good. Pacers 42 points on 31 possessions in that alignment. That's pretty good. Pascal's second most common defender, a guy that I've said all series can't guard him, and they also need to find a way to attack this. Precious Achiuwa guarded Pascal Siakam for 4 minutes and 15 seconds. He didn't miss, 2 for 2 when that was his primary defender. So, how do the Pacers get Siakam more involved? If he has matchups that make sense for him to attack, he has to be involved in the play. With the ball or as a screener or something. He has to be involved. Touch it, set a screen, anything. Because he has advantages in this matchup with Anunoby out, which Ian Begley reported is going to be the case. He has to be involved. He has to have those chances because his third most common matchup, and the only other player who defended him for more than 30 seconds of time in Game 5 is Isaiah Hartenstein, which you've heard me talk about being something I thought the Knicks would go to a ton. Late in Game 3, they did it. It was a tight game. They needed to find some stops, and they put Hartenstein on Siakam for like 3 or 4 minutes. And they haven't gone back to it that much. 1 minute and 23 seconds in Game 6 is what the league logged it as. And Siakam was 0 for 3, right? That just seems like it should be the case. And if that does happen for an extended time, Myles Turner should have a big size advantage, or whoever the center is at that time. But I'm rambling too long to say, looking at the numbers, get Siakam the ball in these matchups. It's so tricky to just do that, right? Again, it's not what the Pacers are. They aren't just walk it up, height advantage, dump it in the post. But Siakam's a great post-up player. Fantastic in Toronto at it. His stats in Indiana were very good in the regular season. He's just got to crush his common matchups. Within the flow of the offense is what they talked about at practice, like not forcing it to that. But I think they've got to find a way to make Siakam be Game 3 Siakam or early in Milwaukee Siakam or second half of Game 6 of the Bucks Siakam. He's been great at many moments in the playoffs. But he's got to have a really nice game, I think, in Game 6. They just want to win. Whoever Jalen Brunson is defending also needs to be a matchup attacker, more so than they have been. I keep saying this, and it's not, again, this is like the Siakam thing, not so easy to do. You can't just snap your fingers and go, whoever Brunson's guarding, go get in the play, right? What's making the Knicks so successful and dragging Haliburton into the play is with Deuce McBride being that extra starter, everyone who's on the floor for the Knicks can handle it, at least somewhat well. So they can have everybody be around the play as a ball handler or a screener, no matter who it is, no matter what the switch is. Aaron Nesmith is a good shooter, but hasn't been awesome, like lights out in the playoffs. And he's a better ball handler now, especially against closeouts, but not a pick and roll guy. So you're not hiding Brunson per se. He's had some successes Nesmith has against him, but it is possible to get away with that, right? So if you look back at Game 5, similar matchup data, the stuff we just looked at with Siakam, with Brunson as the defender, right? His most common matchup was Aaron Nesmith. Nesmith, 6 minutes defended by Brunson. He took 2 shots, right? The team had 26 points on 29 and a half partial possessions in those moments. That's not good. That's not good. His second most common guy he defended was Ben Shepherd, 3.5 minutes. Ben Shepherd took 1 shot. And I'm not saying those are guys you want to force feed, but I am saying those two, or whoever Jalen Brunson is guarding, right, has to be more involved in possessions. Obi Toppin was Andrew Nembhard was the next most common at 1.5 minutes, only 1 shot, right? That player, whoever it is, if it's one of those 3 guys, if it's someone else, whoever, they have to do something. They just have to be in the action, around the play, whatever it is. I keep saying this, and again, it's not so easy because there's a reason they're putting Brunson on that player, right? They trust that guy can't kill them with X, Y, or Z. But you saw this in Game 6 of the first round. They put Brook Lopez on Aaron Nesmith. He pretends to set a screen. He ghosts it. All of a sudden, small miscommunication from the defense. Open 3, he drills it, right? Like, that matters. Nesmith had a pick and roll that, again, probably won't happen again. He didn't pass it, but he scored with Brunson as his defender. Like, there are ways to poke at that and make it an advantage for the Pacers, and it's not easy to do because, again, mismatch hunting is not what they do, but having those guys be more involved, I think, is a must because at 6'2" and not the best defender and dealing with foot soreness, Brunson just has to be more involved as a defender for the Pacers. Look how much success the Knicks are having on the flip side of that, right? Putting Haliburton in all these actions, and that's where I want to close this, but the Pacers have to, I think, be better at attacking Jalen Brunson. Numbers say they're not doing it enough. Look, Haliburton's defense, I talked about it in the first segment a little bit already. Was not good in that first half. I went back and rewatched it, and he said it already. Everybody knows it. Haliburton said it. I mean, I don't have to explain it, but it wasn't good enough. And it wasn't just the screens. I talked about this a little bit, or just the screens, just the doubles. They needed to be better. He needed to provide a little more pressure there, but it was his recoveries. That was the worst part of it. When he would have to get out of it and get back to someone else or back to a certain spot on the floor to be disruptive, that's where he was kind of lost and not getting to the right spot on the floor. And so the Knicks could just kind of easily pop into whatever they were doing next. He was involved in so much stuff in that game, so much stuff. He has got to be better as a defender, especially if they're going to have him be defending at that volume for a whole game. It's going to be very tough for him to do that. It's taxing for offense. It's hard. He either has to just be better, or the Pacers have to just mix stuff up so much that the Knicks have to be like, wait, where is he? Oh, there he is. And then they can't do it as often as they did. But that's hard to do. The Knicks were just so methodical. No hesitation, right? No matter where Haliburton was, oh, come on, let's go. Let's do it. That's very impressive and hard to do over the course of a game. But they did it, and I bet they do it again. And Haliburton's got to be better, and the Pacers have to find ways to make it not such a problem. Let's talk about a couple other little things that I think will matter in Game 6. I can't wait. I love the playoffs. It's been so much fun. Before we do that, though, let's talk about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. Plus, with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Plus, with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Back here on Locked On Pacers, getting you ready for a do-or-die Game 6. Pacers-Knicks tonight. Pacers season could end, or it could go until Sunday in the Garden for Game 7. Man, would that be awesome. What does the Pacers-Knicks rivalry need more than another Game 7? How about that? I can't wait to see how this one shakes out. Check out Locked On Knicks for your second listen. Hear what they're saying ahead of Game 6. What's key on that side? And if you want to hear from Locked On Knicks talking to me about the series, yesterday's show is for you. We did another crossover. I've really enjoyed talking with Gavin about what the series, what could be beforehand and what it has been during it. Knicks one win away from their first conference finals in a while. They've got a fun team for their fan base, certainly. Knicks fans are crazy in a good way. Let's close this out. A couple little things that are going to matter. Get into the paint. That is obviously something we talk about with Haliburton a lot because his numbers are a big deal. 36 points in the paint in Game 5. So low. Lowest of the Pacers postseason. They lost that game. Pacers have been below 44 points in the paint 4 times this postseason. They've won one of those games. It was Game 4 against Milwaukee. You know why I bring up Game 4 against Milwaukee? Because they were unbelievable from 3. That's how they overcame it. If they don't shoot ridiculously from 3, they can't win being that bad in the paint. They just can't. On the flip side, when they're over 50 points in the paint, they're 4-2. When they're over 44 more points in the paint, they're 5-2 in the postseason. Obviously, a little reductive to just say that. Their 2 losses were at 60 points in the paint, which was games 1 and 2 in New York. Their offense was great. Their defense was terrible. So if they defend well and get points in the paint, which is not easy to do against anybody, nonetheless, the mighty and physical New York Knicks, things go well for them. They need to get into the paint. 36 in the last game was unacceptably low, and that's so much of their offense. They had no tempo and no paint. Like, what are you doing? The ball can't get below the free throw line. You're not making plays. You're not forcing the defense to rotate. Nobody's reacting. It doesn't work. You can't win that way, and it didn't look Pacers-y at all out after the first pick your time, 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever, when the Knicks basically outscored the Pacers by a point per minute for the last 36 or so minutes of that game. And the Pacers' offense was ugly. Like, they couldn't get the shots they normally get. Their tempo wasn't right. Their paint touches weren't right. They've got to get in the paint more. I feel like I harp on that a lot, but it's just so valuable, especially after a game where they only get 36 points there. And it's been it's been pretty indicative of their winning in the postseason, or at least their effectiveness and chance of being able to win the game. Their bench has to be much better. Very bad in Game 5. McConnell didn't have it. Toppin didn't quite have it. Ben Shepherd was fine, but they need that group to be great, right? This series specifically, you've seen the Wave not necessarily ride with the bench, but in the first round you totally did. McConnell's best games and the bench's best games were the games the Pacers won. His worst games, especially by plus-minus, were the games they lost. Game 1, McConnell minus 13. Game 5, McConnell minus 18. This is against the Bucks. And then games 2, 3, 4, and 6, all of them were either minus 3 or in the positives, right? So clearly, when he is good, or at least the bench is good, or he's impactful and they can win his minutes, they did well in that series, and he's been mostly positively impactful every game from a plus-minus perspective with the bench in this series. 2 stinkers. But still, I think he's done well, and everybody knows that. The bench has to be better than they were in the last game. And when they're good, their advantage against the Knicks is not that they're playing Knicks bench players. They are playing some Knicks bench players. Their advantage against the Knicks is their energy, right? They have more energy than them. They are not a part of playing 45, 46, 47, 48 minutes. They're playing their 20, and they're going to go all out and be faster and more physical than the Knicks, and they have to do that. They have to do that and combine it with actual efficient offense because they stunk in the last game, and they can't do that again. They need the bench to be better. Toppin's got to make some shots. McConnell's got to be a little better. Shepherd has been good all playoffs, but I think they need just a little more from that second unit. Their energy advantage has been solid, but it needs to exist for every minute they're out there, and it needs to be paired with actual efficiency. McConnell with 7 and 5, it's fine, but he was 3 or 8 on the way, and the bench groups were just not good enough in Game 5. The last thing on my little things list for the Indiana Pacers, can't beat themselves. They can't beat themselves again, right? Rebounding. I mean, it's been so exhausted at this point, but we talked more about it, and we got R-rated Rick talking about it at practice Thursday. Get the ball, box out, and I know it's hard in the scramble situations, or harder, I should say, to find somebody to box out and actually credibly box out. And I know the Knicks are a beast on the glass, but through 4 games in the series, the rebounding battle was 168 to 160. The Pacers can keep up on the glass. They cannot have it be as bad as it was in Game 5. They just lose. Like, all the stuff could happen that I've already talked about, but if they get smoked in the rebounding battle, they just lose. 29 shots, different. I already talked about all that, but that's like a whole quarter of one team shooting the other team not. Like, that's a ton. They have got to be better on the glass. They can't beat themselves by being that bad. From a box out perspective, where they really beat themselves in Game 5 was the turnovers. 18, by far, their most of the playoffs. Previous high was 14. It's not hard at all to figure out why turnovers are so bad. The other team gets easy advantages against a cracked defense. Their tempo's better. Their speed's better. Everything's better. And the Pacers made it easy for New York to play like that. They have to be better taking care of the ball. Haliburton's talked about it. They've all talked about it. And that plays into the possession battle with the 29 shots as much as the rebounding. Not in equal proportion in these games, but it's just as impactful in terms of the possession battle. So lots of little stuff's going to matter, but the big stuff has been the stuff this whole series. The stars dictate the way. Haliburton, great, and the Pacers wins. Brunson, great, and the Knicks wins. Can the stars be the stars for the Pacers? Will the stars be the stars for the Knicks? Who knows? But we'll find out tonight in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I absolutely can't wait for the game. It's going to be an absolute blast. And Saturday, so tomorrow, you'll hear from me. I'll probably podcast in the arena this time. Might be the last chance to do so this season. We'll see. The Pacers certainly don't want it to be. And I want to do it there, and it's a later game, so it makes more sense for my life to do it. So you'll get a podcast Saturday from me from there about the game, what happened, and if possible, looking forward to whatever is next for the Pacers, whether that's Game 7 on Sunday or whatever the next steps are for them for their season. If they win, they'll officially play Boston. We know that now. We didn't know that when I recorded last. So we'll see. Lots coming here on Locked On Pacers. But next up, Game 6 recap review. What did the Pacers do? How did it look? Are they still alive? It's coming tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I'm on Twitter at Tony R. East, and the show is there at Locked On Pacers. Thank you all a ton for listening. Have a wonderful day. See you very soon.